Okay. One thing I forgot to mention today in class was that the way I'm going to have you hand in your homework is in a specific file called R Markdown. R Markdown is a type of R script that will actually let you combine just general text without having to do the little silly commenting, and R code and output all in one document. So I am going to just really quick kind of run you through what this looks like, and that way, if you get started on your homework between now and next week, you can be doing that in the template itself and not in just a regular R script. You can certainly start it in a regular R script if you're not comfortable in R Markdown. Um, and then just copy and paste the code itself into the various code chunks once we get a chance to go over it and you're a little bit more comfortable with it. But it's really not that complicated. I'm probably making it sound worse than it is. What can be tricky is getting it to knit, and I'll explain what that means in just a second. So, if you notice in the homework assignment, there is a PDF of the assignment. The ANES codebook is also in there if you didn't already get it downloaded from the resources folder. And then there is a file that is a .rmd file, which is the R Markdown file, and it says homework one template or something like that. So you'll want to download that and open it into your folder that you have designated as your folder for this class. And then you can open that up and it's going to look like this. I've got it open right now. So you see we've got like a bunch of text without the pound sign or the hashtag for commenting. There is one here. This is for formatting. If you use one, that turns this line into a heading. I think a double is like two of them is a subheading, and gradually they get smaller. Or I could be wrong. It could be the other way around. This might be like a small heading and then more equal get larger. But I don't know. If you Google R Markdown formatting cheat sheet, you can find one that kind of explains all this. But you don't need to know all that for now. But the reason I have you do this in R Markdown is because honestly, it's just easier for me to grade once we get to that point. So this way, it kind of keeps everybody's assignments looking similar, and it just makes it a lot easier for me to grade. It's also a good skill for you to have. I use R Markdown quite a bit for a lot of different things. So yeah. So anyhow, so all I've done in this template is copied and pasted each of the questions into the script file, and then inserted code chunks where you'll want to type code to do whatever the problem it is, whatever the problem requires. So problem one is create this code book that I mentioned in class today, and then I sent you the example earlier. You're going to do that in Excel, or you can do it in Word if you prefer. But so there's no code chunk here between problem one and problem two because you're not going to do anything in R itself for problem one. Problem two is where you get started actually creating new variables and recoding them to set the missing values to NA. So after the text of problem two, you see this here, which is what I'm referring to as a code chunk. So anything that is between these ticks all of these lines, you can enter and make new lines as you want, but anything that you type in here will be the same as if you're typing it into a regular R script. So if if you're commenting or you want to write stuff, you're still going to need to use the hashtags and then whatever your comment is. But you're just going to type everything in here, same as if it's code. And you always have to start off with loading the data and opening any packages, because our Markdown is a closed environment. So even if you have, say, the Haven command or the Rio command or packages open in another script, like, we were working over here and we opened the Haven library to import our data. You're also going to ultimately open this library Rio because it's an easier way to import and export, which the video for this script explains a little bit more in detail. They might be open in your R session right here that you're working in this script with, but when you come into your homework, your R Markdown template, when you go to knit this, it treats this as a closed environment. It doesn't recognize anything that is currently in your environment, and it doesn't recognize any packages that are open. So you're going to want to start off with, putting in your package. If you've already seen the other video, then you know that library Rio is the one that we want. And then you're going to want to import your data set. In the other data set I had exported one of the other videos. I exported the file as a Excel file. So then I totally am botching this. There we go. So you're going to want these 2 lines of code at the beginning in your very first code chunk of any R Markdown script, so that it actually imports the data. Otherwise, it's not going to know what's going on. You're going to have, if you just had like the recoding code here, it wouldn't know what to do because it doesn't have any packages open. It doesn't have any data sets to work with or objects to work with. So the first thing you're going to do is have these 2 lines of code, and then you can go on and create your variables in the rest of this code chunk. Now, you can run code in here. You can run it by clicking this this little arrow here. That'll run all of the code in that particular chunk. Or you can run it line by line, just like you were working in a regular R script. So once you get down, and you see I have these separated out, problem 3 requires some more coding, so there's an R chunk here. There's another code chunk after problem 4. Problem 5 is just asking for levels of measurement for each of your variables. So this just requires some text. Text entry, no coding, so no code chunk. If you need to insert a code chunk anywhere, the Shift Option I, nope, I forget, Shift Command I, Option Command I. There we go. Option Command I on a Mac. On a Windows operating system, I think it's Option Control I, but you might want to Google that because I'm not 100% sure. You can add code chunks, delete them, whatever. But again, Option Command I on a Mac, probably Option Control I. Google it to double check me on Windows. So once you get this done and you answer all these questions and you're finished, you're going to want to knit this, and what is exactly what it sounds like. It's going to knit the different types of data together. You're going to have this text, you're going to have all of this coding, but it's also going to run this code. And so in the output that you generate, and I'll show you in a second, you can export it to either PDF or HTML or Word. It will also have, below this code chunk, it'll have the output from the console list printed in between the code chunk and the next chunk of text. So hopefully that made sense. But if not, we will definitely revisit this in class next week. You can also come to my office hours Thursday afternoon if you're that far that you want to knit stuff and or you want to be using our Markdown, and we can go over it in there. To knit, you see this little knitting needles and the word knit, and then there's this drop down here, and it's really simple. I'm not going to do this right now just because I don't want to screw anything up and then have to explain questions or have to figure out why on the video. But you're either going to click knit to HTML, PDF, or Word. And then it'll run all the code in the document and it'll spit out this nice Word document or nice PDF or an HTML window. Don't knit to HTML. You're ultimately going to want to upload this as a file into Canvas. And while it'll take the HTML files, it doesn't allow me to put feedback on it to you when I'm grading them. So don't submit the HTML file, knit to either PDF or Word, and then that is going to be the document that you turn in when all is said and done. Okay, so that's it on this short little R Markdown explanation. If I've totally confused you, I'm sorry. Come see me in office hours on Thursday, or again, I'll revisit this in class next Tuesday.